You keep getting removed. The redundancy that found you, not the others. The circle of friends that quietly closed without you inside it. The family that learned to call you difficult. Each time you reach the same verdict. The flaw was in you. That verdict is not wrong, it simply does not reach the bottom. There is another reading of the same history, and you have not been told it yet. There is a kind of person who has always been here. They go by different names in different centuries. The cunning woman, the hermit, the witness, the seer, the exile. The world has tried more than once to be rid of them. The world has never managed it. If you carry one of these patterns, you already know. Today, we walk into the territory of the exile. Not the one who chose to leave. The one who was put outside and has spent years trying to work out what was wrong with him. You know the shape of this already. There was a place you belonged, a team, a friendship, a seat at the family table. Then, slowly or all at once, the place rearranged itself so that you were no longer in it. Sometimes it was formal, a restructure, a letter, your role dissolved. Sometimes there was no event at all, just a cooling, the invitations thinning, the standing at a window you were once behind. You looked for the cause and you found it in yourself. The explanation you were handed is simple. You were removed because of something in you. You are too intense. You see too much and say it when others would let it pass. You do not soften yourself enough to be kept. The self-help version says you self-sabotage, that you push people away first, that some avoidance keeps wrecking the good thing. I want to be fair to that because it is not empty. You probably are intense. You very likely do see things and find them hard to leave unsaid. If the explanation were entirely false, it would not have held you this long. But true is not the same as deep enough. This one stops a long way short of the bottom. Begin with the simplest test. If the cause were only a defect in you, the pattern would behave like a defect. It would be roughly random, it would strike anywhere, and it would yield to effort the way a flaw yields once you finally work on it. Now look at your own history honestly. It is not random. The removals do not happen just anywhere. They happen inside systems, a workplace, a family, an institution, a friendship group with its own quiet order. They happen wherever there is a structure with a hierarchy to read. And notice what you were doing in the weeks before each one. You were not failing, you were perceiving. You saw the thing no one in the room was naming, the favoritism dressed as merit, the story the family told about itself that was not quite true, the decision already made behind the meeting that was meant to decide it. You saw it, and you could not fully pretend that you had not. A system can absorb a great deal. It can absorb mediocrity. It can absorb conflict. What it cannot easily absorb is being read accurately by someone it cannot place. The one who reads it is a risk to the story it tells about itself. So consider what a wall is actually for. A wall does not keep everyone in. It keeps in the ones the structure can use. The ones it puts outside are the ones it could not place. Your inability to be slotted in was never proof of a fault in you. It was information about the system. The system removed what it could not categorize, and it called that removal your failure, because that was the cheaper story. I have watched this pattern for a long time. The same people removed again and again, each one privately certain it was their own flaw, none of them seeing the one thing they had in common. They were all unusually hard to deceive. So the question turns, it stops being what is wrong with me that I keep being cast out. It becomes what was each of those places protecting itself from when it decided I had to go. What you are describing has a name. It is the exile. And here is the part you were never told. You were not thrown out, you were thrown clear. But thrown clear of what and into what is a question that takes most of a life to answer. Naming it does not close the matter. It opens it. Let me anchor this so it does not float off into mysticism. The exile is not a curse or a fate. It is a description of how introverted intuition behaves inside human structures. The nigh-dominant mind reads a system faster than the system can conceal itself. Jung mapped this pattern across cultures and centuries. The exile is simply what happens when perception outpaces a structure's tolerance for being perceived. Now hold the harder truth alongside the lighter one, because you have earned the right to both. The expulsion was real. It cost you years you will not get back. Thrown clear is not the wall doing you a kindness. The wall did not mean to free you. It meant to be rid of you. Thrown clear is not a gift you were handed. It is a reading you take up afterwards with your own hands from the wreckage of having been thrown out. Thrown clear of what? Of a place that could only keep you by asking you to see less. And into what? Into open country. A sparer, truer life. The vantage you could only ever reach from outside the wall, which is the one place the people still inside it will never stand. There is a shadow in this, and you should know it. The exile can stay thrown out forever. He can wear the expulsion as a name, let it harden into contempt for everyone still inside, and decide he was simply too fine for the village. That is not sovereignty. That is the wound, running the life from underneath, dressed up as pride. What changes when you know this is not a technique? It is the relationship to the whole history. You stop auditing yourself for the flaw that got you removed. You begin asking what each wall could not afford to have seen. This is slow work. It is the tending of an old verdict, held patiently until it loosens its grip. If this has landed somewhere it needed to land, then you may already know what comes next. There are 7 Sigma INFJ archetypes, and each one carries a different gift, a different burden, a different mythic responsibility. The link in the description will take you to a free assessment that reveals yours. It takes about 3 minutes. The answer tends to land harder than people expect, and if you want to keep walking these threads with me, into the deeper psychology of the Sigma INFJ, into the archetypes the world has forgotten how to name, subscribe. There are far older and stranger things still to uncover. Until next time, find your power, know your myth,